Have you ever found yourself thinking about someone all the time? Reliving conversations in my head, rereading old messages, trying to decipher silences, imagining what that person meant, or what could have been different. Perhaps she doesn't even show that much interest. Perhaps, rationally, you know that this will lead nowhere. But still, you can't stop thinking about her. It's as if your mind is trapped, as if a part of you is always waiting for one more message, one more sign, one more chance. This has a name. And no, it's not love. It's called limerence, and it's much more common than we imagine. Today, we're going to talk about why so many people get emotionally trapped in relationships, even when they know that it's not good for them, even when it hurts, even when they've already tried to leave several times. Let's understand what's behind this silent pain that seems to never end, and why, sometimes, the greatest suffering isn't losing someone, but to lose oneself trying to be loved. Limerence is when passion ceases to be lighthearted, and it becomes suffocating. It's when interest ceases to be just a feeling, and it turns into an obsession. In this emotional state, the other person becomes the center of their thoughts, of your emotions, and gradually, even their identity. His mood begins to depend on her. You feel euphoria when she replies. A simple message can change your whole day. But when she walks away, emptiness appears. Anxiety is growing. Despair sets in. Every gesture becomes a sign. Each word is analyzed. Every silence hurts, as if he were saying something you don't want to hear. And, little by little, you realize that you're no longer living the relationship. He is living in anticipation. But here's the most important part to understand. What you feel is not love. It's an emotional dependency, fueled by a chemical cycle that takes place inside your brain. A cycle that creates expectation, hope, and attachment. And that makes you confuse intensity with connection. Every time that person pays attention to you, something happens inside you. Your brain releases dopamine, the reward hormone. It's a good feeling. Pleasure. Euphoria. Hope. For a few moments, everything seems to make sense. You feel seen, chosen, important. But then, the contact disappears. The answer is not coming. The message is taking a while to arrive. Interest wanes, and what was once pleasure becomes abstinence. The mind enters search mode. You start checking your phone compulsively, revisiting conversations, create scenarios, look for any sign that brings back that feeling of newness. You don't want the person themselves. You want the effect it has on you. This cycle of reward and withdrawal is what keeps limerence alive. It's what keeps you hooked, even when you know it's not reciprocated, even when reason tells you to leave, because it's not a conscious choice. It's your brain craving more of what, for a moment, made you feel good. But why does this happen? Why do some people seem to fall into this cycle so easily? Most of the time, limerence doesn't originate in the present. It has much deeper roots. Often, it starts way back there, in childhood. When, without realizing it, you learn to associate love with effort, afraid of losing, with the feeling that he needed to deserve to be loved. Perhaps the affection was conditional. Perhaps the attention span was unstable. Perhaps affection was never completely safe. And that leaves its mark. Limerence can also stem from emotional deprivation, of past rejections, unstable or emotionally distant family relationships. So, without realizing it, you grow up seeking it in others. The love and validation that she never fully received. And when you find someone who awakens that feeling, someone who seems to finally fill that void, the mind creates a powerful illusion. Now it's going to happen. Now I will be loved. Now everything makes sense. But what is really happening? It's not a new beginning. It's the same pattern repeating itself. With a different face, another name, another story. You are in limerence when the person is constantly on your mind, even when there is no real reason for it, when thoughts return on their own, when your mind keeps nagging, even when you try to distract yourself. You realize you're experiencing limerence when you start analyzing everything. Messages, likes, response time, the tone of a sentence, an emoji, a silence. Everything becomes a sign. Everything seems to have a hidden meaning. You fantasize about a relationship that barely exists. Create dialogues. Create scenes. Create an entire future, without the present supporting that. Their emotional state begins to fluctuate as the other person gets closer or moves away. One day you'll be on top. On the other hand, at rock bottom. And perhaps the most painful sign of all, you ignore clear evidence of disinterest. You see, you can feel it. But she chooses to cling to hope, because limerence doesn't bind you to the presence of the other person. She holds you captive with her unfulfilled promise to be loved in the way you need. There is a very important difference between love and limerence. True love is peaceful. He doesn't squeeze his chest. It doesn't generate constant anxiety. It doesn't put you on high alert. Love brings peace. It brings reciprocity. It brings growth to both sides. Limerence, on the other hand, is unstable, intoxicant, addictive. She puts you on an emotional roller coaster, where intensity is confused with depth. In love, there's room for two wills, two rhythms, two individualities. In limerence, there is only one. You're trying to fill a void, with someone's idea, with the expectation of being saved, hoping to finally feel whole. To love is to share what you already have. Limerence is trying to heal oneself through another person. And that's a difference that changes everything. Breaking this cycle is possible, but it begins with a truth that is difficult to face. The first step is to recognize what you're experiencing is limerence. There's no shame in that. It's not weakness. It's not a lack of self-love. It's an emotional pattern. And patterns can be healed. The second step is to create distance. And here's what's important to understand. This is not contempt. It's not coldness. It's not punishment. It's emotional detoxification. Social media. Innocent conversations. Remembering moments. Stored triggers. All of this reactivates the dopamine cycle. Every contact, however small, it pulls you back to the same place. The third step is to refocus. All the energy that was going towards that person. Attention, time, thoughts, expectation. I need to come back to you. Take care of yourself. Explore what makes you feel good. Rebuilding your own presence. And perhaps the most important step of all, strengthen your self-esteem. If you ask yourself honestly, what I am trying to feel through this person that I don't even give myself. Healing begins when you understand that the validation you seek is outside of yourself. It's something that can only come from within. You don't control what you feel, but you can choose what you do with what you feel. And this is where mindfulness becomes a powerful ally. Mindfulness is not about stopping thinking. It's about learning to observe thoughts without being swayed by them. When that wave of longing comes, when the fantasy begins to take shape, when your mind pulls you back to the same story, stop for a moment. Pay attention to what's happening inside you. Name the feeling. Breathe. Return to the present. For the body. For the present moment. At first, it seems difficult. Sometimes it seems impossible. But this is practice. And with time, the mind learns something fundamental. She no longer needs that stimulus to feel alive, safe, or complete. Limerence is like an emotional mirror. She doesn't show up to punish you. She shows up to demonstrate. Show the parts inside you who still need love, welcoming, security. And when you stop looking for it in others, that which is lacking in oneself, something changes profoundly. The pain begins to spiral out of control. Suffering becomes a learning experience. Obsession gradually gives way to freedom. Because true love isn't what consumes you. It's not what makes you anxious. It's not what makes you get lost. True love is what calms you down. And when you learn to give yourself the love you always hope to receive, no one else has the power to leave you empty. Healing isn't about forgetting the one you loved. The cure is remembering who you were before getting lost, trying to be enough for someone.